far as I can see, there are two kinds. There's the in-your-face brand of horror that relies on adrenaline and the reader's desire for thrills. And then there's the slow creep, the kind of horror that becomes scarier the longer you live with it. It's initially a light touch, then it gradually becomes a poke, until you realize that a hand has been choking the life out of you. Krista Davis is a master of the slow creep, the kind of story that stays with you like an infection, making you think that things could be normal until you realize that shit, they are not normal at all, and you should probably get that checked out. But what Krista truly excels at is picking the weirdest, most batshit scenarios and having enough of a subtle touch to not bludgeon them to death. Although with Krista's dark imagination, I don't think bludgeoning is ever out of the question. In some ways, the universe of Krista's work is scarier than bludgeoning. She taps into the unnameable sense of fear and unease that is always with us and within us and makes it an aesthetic. As Krista's thesis readers said, her prose is spare but lush, and I particularly respect that spare lushness because I cannot do it. And there is so much between the lines and so much that goes unspoken. But you still feel the presence of those unspoken things. The way you, spoiler alert, might feel the presence of something in your tent that you can't quite see or name or rationalize. But what I can say with no sense of mystery is that Krista has been an incredible friend, and I feel so lucky that she will continue to live in Colorado. One of my earliest memories of Krista is of her as a storyteller, but this was off the clock at the Secret Bar. With not so much as a warning, she told a story about a dirt biker literally ripping himself a new asshole, and did it with such a grisly, exhaustive detail that I still sometimes consider suing her for my emotional distress and my therapy bills. Another early Krista moment also involved a ripped asshole, but this time it was figurative. During our cohort's first time at the Secret Bar, this douchebag took it upon himself to sit at our table, disrupt our conversation, and spout off his sexist ideas as if he was dropping truth, wisdom, and knowledge. Anybody familiar with Krista probably knows the ending to this story. She systematically and brutally dismantled him, and obviously enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed watching it. And although the debates between Krista and I are in good fun, I'm always a little bit scared. Most importantly, well, one of Krista's best qualities is that she's not afraid to call you on your shit, and she doesn't sugarcoat. She has always been there for me, providing comfort and advice when needed, most notably after the death of my uncle, which was devastating. A lot of people prefer to keep their distance in these situations, but her concern and consolation was so genuine and as well calibrated for a moment as her prose. And I hope we are friends for many more years to come, but let me get out of the way and let her prose speak for itself. Please join me in welcoming Krista Davis.
Thanks, Matt. I'm just going to go ahead and just jump right in and start reading. So, the first one I'm going to read is called Habituation, or Your Tent Isn't Keeping Out Anything That Wants to Get to You. Alone in my tent, staccato kisses flick down the back of my neck, whispering heat and moisture against my skin. It happens, and then it's over, and searching for the lips I know aren't there, I wonder if it did happen. I think of Cade and wish he had taken off work to come backpacking with me. But Cade is at home and something has left a wet residue on my nape. I start to rotate in my sleeping bag, to look behind me. A tingle at the base of my spine hints that I may not want to know. I turn back around before I see or don't see anything. My hand finds the lingering sensation on my neck and comes back damp. Rubbing my fingers together, it is not saliva on the tips, but instead some kind of purple-gray phlegm. Viscous and thick, it holds onto my thumb when I pull it away from my forefinger, snapping apart only when they are spread wide. Outside, all around me, are birds and raindrops. Their music is so insistent that dawn cannot help but rise, cloudy and slick as it is. I lay in the near light with wet that is not rain on my neck and fingers, and close my eyes again, tell myself to listen harder. Birds, raindrops, a curious little mammal that investigates the perimeter of my camp, rustling on the earth. Breathing wind that rushes in and is sucked back out like this clearing is the maw of the mountain. But none of that is inside my tent. Here it is my own breath, hot and steady and concentrated. I listen, but there is nothing else. Several minutes of nothing else. More light sinks in. I shift around in my sleeping bag, ignoring the quiver of my spine, and whatever has been with me in its still silence, whatever kissed my neck, surges out through the already unzipped door of the tent. The flap smacks against the outer wall and stays open so I can see what isn't there. I tell myself to breathe deeply. I tell myself to think. I am dazed from the car, even if I hike through the nights. The thought speeds my pulse when, just for a moment, I can't remember where I parked, but it only lasts a moment. A quarter mile from the trailhead in Aspen Grove off to the left. I know where it is, and I need to get there. I need to leave. All day I follow the trail toward that goal. I don't make camp again until the moon has been up for hours and my feet are screaming. This morning, the kisses are not short, crisp pecks. They amble and suck, a tongue flicking out every so often to lick. I wake to this, and it is not unpleasant, but I pull away, unable to stop myself. The kissing does not come back, though the place it had been yearns for it. I feel mucus, much more this time, creeping down my neck toward my sleeping bag. I do not want it to get there. I also do not want it to leave. Again, I listen, and again there's only myself to hear. I wait, longer than I waited last time, not wanting to startle whatever it is. I've been too quick, too anxious. I feel that energy now, radiating not just at the base of my spine anymore, but inching further up my sacrum. It wraps around my pelvic bone and sinks into the collagen and calcium. I wish again for the comfort of Cade. I try to imagine his voice, whispering that I'm okay, but the only voice inside me is my own, and even it sounds wrong. There is a faint smell that I think must be coming from the mucus tracking down my baby hairs, closer to the ground. The sour and sweetness of rotting fruit, the musk of decayed leaves, the vitality of something aged still clinging to life. The wet is about to reach my bag when I finally turn over, my hand cupping my neck to catch the slick before it can land. I move slowly so I don't surprise whatever it is in my tent, but it makes no difference. Just like last time, it bolts out into the trees and is gone before I can steal a glimpse. Unzipping myself from the warmth of my cocoon with one hand, the other covered with lavender slime, I step out from the false security of my shelter. The ground is wet, and I know it rained again last night, though the sun glares down now. I wipe my hand on a tree. The ooze scrapes off, but its odor endures. I scour the grass and mud for prints of any kind, my bare feet careful not to disturb what may be, but is not, there. Tonight, I'm sitting by the fire, holding my hands above the flames like marshmallows at the ends of sticks, waiting for them to puff and toast but hopefully not catch fire, while my pelvic bone and tailbone begin to prickle. The sensation stays low and travels upward, stops in my lumbar spine. I imagine the vertebrae stacked on top of one another, clack-clacking together to create the buzz I feel. It's nearby, I know, but it does not touch me. I stay still, hands growing so hot, it's as though they'll melt. I turn them over so their backs are to the blaze, but it's too late. I see I have a rash of tiny blisters. They are toasted marshmallows, perfectly golden and just beginning to bubble. The outer layer would shed right off if I pulled, leaving a fresh dermis of white. Maybe, at least, my hands won't smell like the phlegm that coated them this morning. Slowly, I raise them and sniff. The odor is the same, but with hints of smoke and inflammation. Without turning to face whatever's behind me, I say, I burned my hands. I wait for a reply, but none comes. I say again, I burned my hands. Still, the bones at the center of my body tremble and whine. It is how I know there is still that something behind me. I don't know how close or far, but I am certain of its presence. I burned my hands, I say, I have to turn around to get my water. I turn. I see no movement. I hear nothing but the tingling within me goes away. My body mules for it to return. On the trail, the sun rising to noon, something grabs the seat of my pants and yanks me to the ground. I fall straight down onto my tailbone. At first, there is pain, but then there is the now familiar tingle, spreading from that center line of my lower back and up nearly to my rib cage, crawling downward to the tops of my femurs. I hadn't realized the emptiness inside of me until this moment, full as I am of this other sensation. I whip my head, searching all directions, but seeing no sign of life or other. When I stand, I reach around to cradle my coccyx, and the bandage that cover my palms come back covered in a purplish-gray powder. Spinning in a slow circle, I call out, "Hello?" The movement helps the hurt of my tailbone to fade. I keep spinning, call again, "Hello?" A shiver in the trees. I stop spinning and stare at the space. I don't see anything but plants and dirt and rock, yet I am certain I heard a sound. My breath is steady and shallow. My heart throbs. "Cade?" I try. "Cade!" I wait and wait. If I look away from this spot, whatever it is will have a chance to flee a fourth time without ever being seen. A kiss under my ear, brief but hard, makes me flinch. I don't have to touch that place on my throat to know it is covered with faint purple residue. So close to my nostrils, the smell chokes. Home. Warm and freshly showered and safe at home. I curl under the covers to soak in their comfort. My wet hair is sticking to my naked back. I sneeze and think that I should take some vitamin C and blow dry my hair in case I'm getting cold, but am already dozing. A fierce hum in my bones, every bone, even my skull, has me kicking the blankets away from me, careful not to use my hands, jumping to my feet. The front door lock turns and pops. Kate is home from work. "Becca," he calls. I wonder who he's talking to, jealousy bundling inside of me, before I remember that I am Becca, that I've always been Becca. Becca is my name. His footsteps come down the hall. One second, I laugh. "Let me get some clothes on." He is smiling when he enters. "Never," he says, grabbing me by the waist and kissing my lips. I am enthusiastic until his mouth finds my throat. His saliva is turning thick on my skin. I recoil. My hand goes to where he kissed me and comes away slightly damp, but clean. "What's wrong?" He takes a step back. "Oh my God, Becca, your hands." "They're not so bad," I say, dropping them by my sides. "Accidentally burned them. Held them too close to the fire for too long, I guess." "How did you even do that?" "I didn't mean to." "Do you need me to?" "They're fine, okay?" His concern hasn't been assuaged, but he says, "Okay. Well, how was the rest of your trip?" "It was pretty good. Rained." "Anything exciting? See many animals?" "Oh, just the usual." I smile and climb back under the sheets, pull them tight around me with my damaged hands, even though it hurts. Cade slides into bed with me. I spoon him, the curve of my body wrapping around the length of his. As we begin to fall asleep, I give a light kiss on the back of his neck. This morning, I am too sick to go to work. My boss is angry. I've just taken several days off for a backpacking trip, and now I expect an extra day of vacation? I try to explain that there is something wrong with my bones, that I'll probably have to make Cade take me to a doctor because there is something wrong with my bones. Cade sits beside me, rubbing his thumb across the fresh bandages covering my palms, as I agree to bring a doctor's note tomorrow. "Do you want to go to the doctor now?" he asks when I hang up. "I can tell work I'll be late." No, I say. "I'll call Dr. Danielson, see if they can fit me in on your lunch break. Is that okay?" He says it is and tells me to rest and feel better. He'll be back to pick me up at lunchtime. Lying on the couch, I sense the clatter of my bones calm to a buzz as soon as the lock latches and Cade's steps disappear. He will come back to take me to the doctor. I love him, I think, but I do not want him to come back and take me to the doctor. I sleep again and wake with terrible breath. I am too hot. I stand up and that helps. I move towards the door, raise my arm as though I'll open it, and feel relief. I look at my hands and wonder if they need to see a doctor too. How bad are marshmallow burns, anyway? I raise one to my mouth, breathe into it, and sniff deeply. The air from my lungs is sour and sweet and musky. I cuddle in bed with Cade after telling him I'm too sick to have sex tonight. The doctor is worried that it's something I was exposed to in the woods. They took some blood to run tests but had trouble slipping it into the syringe. It looked viscid and the color was wrong, like it was dying, like I was dying. The nurse recommended I drink lots of water. Snuggled up to me now, Cade says, I'm worried about you. I don't understand what's wrong. How can you feel your bones at all? I don't know. Becca, did something happen while you were camping? What? Did something happen while you were camping? Just some weird dreams, but dreams don't make you sick, right? What kind of dreams? I can't tell him what happened. I can't tell him they weren't dreams. Instead, I say, I would wake up and you'd be kissing my neck, but when I turned around, you'd be gone. Oh, he says, giving a small smile. That sounds more sad than weird. I need to sleep. Do you want to brush your teeth first? No. You sure? When I don't respond, he pulls me closer and brushes my hair with his fingers. I don't tell him how unbearable it is. Who's Becca? I murmur, remembering what he called me. What? Nothing. This morning, I call in sick to work again. My boss threatens to fire me at first, but changes his mind after I tell him whatever I have is mysterious and might be contagious. I must really be desperate, he figures, if I'm pulling shit like this. He'll go to his own job, at my insistence. He wanted to stay and be with me, but I need him to be gone to give my bones a rest. They almost ache with the constant buzzing and shaking. I ask Cade if he can hear it, but he can't. As soon as he leaves, I go to the bathroom and brush my teeth, scrape my tongue, floss, rinse with mouthwash until my gums are raw. It makes no difference. Pressing my finger to the inside of my cheek, it comes out covered in purplish gray saliva. A stranger who looks like me stares back from the mirror. I rush to my car and speed to the wilderness area I'd been camping in 2 nights ago. I go to a different trailhead. It is not a parking lot, but a dirt clearing off a back road big enough to fit maybe 3 vehicles. Cautiously, I step out. I'm shoved to the ground, 2 solid objects punching into my back. I land on my hands and knees. Several blisters pop and start to stain their bandages, not red. I don't need to turn around. I don't need to reach to my shoulder blades to feel where something pushed me. I know what did this. It hurt me again. I thought you wanted me to come back, I say into the earth. I couldn't stay away. I had to come back. I thought you wanted me to come back. Another thump comes down onto my back, flattening me with a cloud of dust, brown mingled with lavender. I thought wrong. I start to cry. Then what do you want? Stillness and silence. I cannot stop the sticky tears. What are you? A kiss on my nape. A kiss on the tip of my left ring finger. I settle into my internal hum. It takes me hours to find my way back home. In bed, the stars flickering through the window, Cade asks if there's anything he can do to help me. I'm scared, I tell him. I'm scared too, he says. But we should get the tests back tomorrow, and hopefully they'll have good news. And if they don't, at least we can make a plan. Do something that'll make you better. I want to shake my head, but I can't make myself move. They won't find anything wrong with me. What do you mean, honey? They might. They won't. It's the dreams. Becca, no. It's like you said, dreams don't make people sick. Right? I say. You're right. I ask him to make love to me. Tell him I want to feel him close. I need his intimacy. The slick between my legs is the wrong color, the wrong odor, the wrong texture. I knew it would be. Cade stops, afraid of what this means. We need to go to the doctor, he says, right now. No, please, I'm fine, I'll be fine, but right now I need this. I need you. Becca, I can't. Cade, please. I climb on top of him, and his eyes are anxious, but he does not stop me. I wonder if his spine is starting to tingle. This morning, Cade is concerned that he's caught my bug. He lingers with me in bed, deciding if he should go to work or not. It might be infectious. I say nothing, just let him talk and curl like a cat against his chest. His body is warm. I tilt my head up and kiss his throat, wiping away the wet before he has a chance to notice. He smiles at me. I can feel my insides. Don't go to work, I tell him after he has quieted. Call out for tomorrow, too. You think so? Yeah, I think we should go camping. That's ridiculous. We're already sick. That won't help anything. It will, I promise. I felt great the whole time I was out there. Fresh air is always a good thing. He doesn't respond, so I resort to, please. No, honey, I don't think so. But I'll stay with you instead of going to work. It'll be good to rest. We can rest in the tent. Please, let's go. I grab his hand and squeeze, claw my nails into his palm. Okay, he says. Okay, we can go. My bones tell me this is good. This is right. We lie in our individual sleeping bags beside each other, and Cade rolls around and around, trying to get comfortable. I imagine his spine as a guitar string that I've plucked, keep plucking. Out here, it must be miserable for him. My bones are finally at rest. My body feels heavy, but at least it is quiet. Becca, I need to go home, he whimpers. Sleep. You just need to sleep, I say. I'm going to go sit by the fire for a while. You sleep. I know he'll never be able to rest with me in the tent. I touch the back of his neck as I step into the night. The fire is out and I circle it once, twice, before deciding to give Kate even more space, even more relief. In the trees, my footfalls weave with other sounds of the night. Trees cracking in the breeze, animals skittering around the floor, a tiny brook bubbling nearby. Larger things that used to scare me when I came to camp alone must prowl here too, but now I know they aren't the only things to be afraid of. Still, some beasts will kill me no matter how unappealing my taste. It's only once they get inside that they realize what they're ripping into. I trip in the darkness, catch myself on a tree, open the scabs on my hands, and popping a few more blisters. I wouldn't call what begins to stain the bandages blood, but I have no other word for it. I am bleeding. And then my bones start again. That something is here with me. I close my eyes and wait for the kiss. It comes, this time on my cheek, and I know not to open my eyes. The thing takes my hand, not worrying about the ooze coming from it, and begins to lead me somewhere I do not see. I wake in a cocoon. It is wrapped all around me and my body is melting until lavender. I can breathe, can feel that I don't want. I have awareness and thought. I have thoughts. I have awareness, patience. I have kisses, so many kisses. Kisses? I do not hum or buzz or vibrate or tingle or tickle. Only lavender breathing and thoughts, awareness, patience, kisses. This morning, I crawl into the tent beside the man, his back to me. It might be the next morning, but it has probably been days since I entered my chrysalis, hours since I emerged. He is still here, in these mountains, his bones doing what bones do, and his heart waiting for me to return. I reach out to touch him, to wrap my limb around him and across his chest, to pull him against me. But I stop myself, lie an inch away from him and extend just my head to kiss the nape of his neck. He stirs and I know he is awake. I keep on kissing. He tastes like salt and meat, blood rising to the surface of his skin like a flush to meet my mouth. It is hot against my tongue. The instant he begins to turn toward me, I flee, panic filling my lungs, and am gone in an instant. My body flying through the trees, I hurtle into the figure that had given me all of these kisses. It is here, right in front of me, no longer hiding. I thought I would be afraid, but it is not a fearsome creature. I see it clearly. It looks like me. A body of pale, cloudy powder, filled with the same shade of liquid. Somewhere, far from here, the man shouts an incomprehensible word. So that's my first story. Okay, this one's a little bit shorter. So I'm just gonna jump right into this one too, without further delay. It's called Getting Brunch or Gentrification is Bringing More Than a Housing Crisis to the Neighborhood. It was a Sunday. We knew better than to go to Tennyson Street for brunch at 11 on a Sunday morning, but we did it anyway. And no, we hadn't thought to use that app that lets you hold a place in line before you get there. So, we show up for some monstrous piles of biscuit, fried chicken, cheese, and all the fixings, only to be told that the wait will be an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half. Would we like to wait? We would not. Holding the door for me as we left, you said, "That's all right. We've never tried that new little place down the street. Do you want to wander that way?" I didn't know what new little place you meant. We'd lived a few blocks away from Tennyson for years, since her mom died and we moved into her house, but it seemed like a new brunch spot or clothing boutique popped up about every week now. You'd just been telling me a few days ago about how crazy it was to watch this place you grew up in transform. Like, these people were from a different world, you'd said. But a few blocks later, sure enough, there was a cottage with its sign of chirpy pastels swinging in the grass, and behind, white people sitting at tables eating waffles and omelets. Some had orange juice and coffee, others a Bloody Mary or mimosa. Everyone looked pleased enough, even if they also had their jackets on like they were ready to stand up and leave at any moment. We turned down the cobblestone path toward the door. "A little early in the season to be eating outside, right? Coffee get cold in like 2 seconds, I said. Or something like that, because it really was still too chilly to be eating outside, and I wanted you to know that I'd prefer to sit inside. I said it so you could tell the hostess when we approached her perch, and she inevitably asked you, not me, how many? Would you prefer to sit inside or outside? And because you heard what I was trying to say when I made the comment about the people's coffee getting cold, you told her, inside. Are you sure? I can see you immediately outside. It'll be 20 minutes for inside. We were sure. During our wait, which was exactly 20 minutes, we had a chance to check out the restaurant decor. On the walls, a local artist had their work displayed, available for purchase. Every piece was vibrant blocks of color separated by thin black lines to make a loud image. A print of a gray monkey in a suit, mouth open in a scream, canines hanging long and sharp, its hand clawing at the loose flesh of its face, a blank black background, swallowing it up. 2 husked pieces of corn, with childlike eyes and rosebud lips reaching out tiny white-gloved hands to one another, one touching an implied breast, the other touching where genitals would be. Further down the hall, toward the bathroom, I pointed to one with a twisted mass of naked plastic baby dolls, each pink face filled with human eyes rather than marble. You thought it was all a little too weird and dark for a brunch spot, especially one a family with young kids might stumble into. Lucky we'd left our own with your brother for the weekend. Rosa, she was maybe 6 then, would have been asking too many questions about what she was seeing in the paintings. I thought the place was kitschy, but in a good way. A way that worked for the vibe they seemed to be going for. Urban, bright, poppy, but hipster in a way that, even then, I could admit was kind of creepy. Then, while we were being seated, you noted that only a few of the tables were occupied and that there was something disconcerting, your word, about those occupants, but you couldn't quite put your finger on what. I looked at them, talking and laughing, and said, "What? They're normal people getting brunch. Annoying we didn't get seated right away, though. You think they're short-staffed or something?" You shook your head and kept looking at them, trying to figure out what it was exactly that bothered you. At the table, checkered cloth napkins in our laps, we chatted for a minute about what looked good right off the bat, if we were in the mood for something stronger than coffee, that sort of thing, until our waiter appeared. White blonde hair and a bun at the back of his head and a full brown, expertly trimmed beard covering the lower half of his face. He fit there, especially in his baby pink t-shirt covered in melted ice cream cones and tight aqua pants. With a broad smile that revealed a set of perfect teeth, he said, "Welcome in. My name's Pete, and I'll be taking care of you this morning. Can I get you folks something to drink? We have a Build Your Own Bloody Mary bar in the back on Sundays until noon, so you're just in time." I looked to you, letting you take the lead on this one. You declined. You just wanted a coffee, thank you. I was somewhat disappointed in your decision, but compromised. in my own mind, and ordered myself both coffee and a blood orange mimosa. You grinned, one side of your lips turning up just for me to see.